Hello there, my name is Doc Conrad, and this is my little preamble to the podcast. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who is a part of this podcast, including all the guests and the two wonderful artists who help bring this podcast to life. At Mellowscav, at MELOSCAV, created the icon for this podcast, and at Doidaflower, at DOIDUHFLOWER, is the artist behind the visuals on YouTube and other social media sites. If you'd like to keep up to date with the show, follow the show on Twitter at CommsOpenPodcast. For the third episode of Commissions Open, I interviewed a very talented artist and animator, MKMaffo. We discussed her dedication to Newgrounds, her life in Florence, her early inspirations, and her opinions on the online world of commissions as a whole. In this episode, we had very different time zones, so if I don't sound myself, it's not because I'm bored, because she was very wonderful, an interesting guest, full of energy, but because I woke up at a very early time for my normal sleep schedule to get this whole thing working. Even still, I hope you'll enjoy today's podcast, and follow her on all of her social media sites. She's on Newgrounds, Instagram, and Twitter as at MKMaffo, MKMaffo, and on Facebook as Maffo's Artso, MAFFO''S-ARTSO. Thank you, and have a great day. Ladies, gentlemen, and everybody listening, hello, welcome to Commissions Open. It is an interview podcast all about art in the digital age. You can hear the processes, stories, and lives of artists, voice actors, video creators, editors, musicians, and many other talented creators in the era of online work. I am your host, Doc Conrad, and today I have a wonderful special guest, the first person I've interviewed outside of my friend group, like I mentioned earlier to you, MKMaffo. Hello.
Epic! It's me!
It's epic, it's you! This is honestly, like, I'm not gonna lie, very epic. Thank you.
I actually use that word for real, and everyone is making fun of me every time.
Oh, don't worry about it. It is epic. It's because of Fortnite. That's what ruined the word, and it's unfortunate.
It is?
Pretty much. That's the company who made Fortnite.
Oh no!
Epic Games. Yeah. It's sad to hear. The only reason why I know, the main reason why I know that is because I live in the same state that it was made, in the U.S.
Oh hell yeah!
Hell yeah. Okay. All right. Maffo, you are from Florence, is that correct?
I'm from Florence, Italy.
Yes.
Tuscany.
Yes, I have no idea about the real there's definitely some questions I want to go ahead and ask you involved with like your artwork and all of that, but I want to talk about a lot of your different inspirations, that being like different cartoons coming over there and your inspirations from that for like anime and your different even Western more like Canadian and US based like animations. How is it what's like the, how do I put this? In the US we have Cartoon Network and we and like Nickelodeon, we have like a couple of cartoon shows. Too. Okay.
I mean,
and
we had
how
like
was it for you?
like a cable kind of thing, like a service called Sky, and when I was little we purchased it, and we had Cartoon Network, we had Nickelodeon, we had Boomerang, we had
yes.
Jetix, but then they closed it.
Oh,
Jetix it's like a I guess Toonami would be the parallel.
We had something like that too. At least Jagex.
Like Jetix with the iron little thing.
Yeah, the little iron guy with like the one eye.
The little mascot with one eye.
And the two little ears. Yeah, I remember it. Like, they have like, I was just curious, like how much of that was specifically like, was any of it like translated, or was most of it like was any of it like in Italian, or was that only like some work, or was it like mostly English? Like how did that go?
Nah, everything was translated. Actually, the Italian dub team, I don't know, like team one, I'm saying like the dubbing in Italy is actually pretty great. Like there are some stuff that I actually prefer in Italian. One example that I don't know why it's my first example is Shrek. I hate Shrek in English. I really don't like it. In Italian, it's great.
Oh man, I've never thought of like, well, of course I don't speak the language, but like I've known like there are some like different nuances with like specifically that movie, because like the comedy writing, a lot of it was made in English, and I wondered how well it would translate over. But
I mean,
yeah,
in English is just the Eddie Murphy being Eddie Murphy, and the
yes,
guy that does what's it called, Austin Power being Austin Power.
yeah.
In Italian, is completely different. So it's like, okay, people don't know what the heck are they doing. So let's just make it. It's Shrek and what's it, a donkey. It's called Ciuchino. It means little
Hmm.
donkey in Italian.
Oh, so they made. So what you're telling me is that in Italian and Shrek, they made them actual characters instead of it being like a this is a
Yeah,
famous actor that we got to voice this thing.
like we're making waffles. It's not like it's Ciuchino saying it's donkey. It's not Eddie Murphy saying they're making waffles.
This is
Or
so.
like anime. Anime
Yeah.
is it's much better in Italian because in English saying names like oh, Urameshi sounds weird saying it in English, but in
Mm,
Italian it's pretty similar to it because it's like a hard accent, hard sound.
mm.
Why in English everything is smooth and like the R's and the T's, everything is. It doesn't. It sounds lame, at least for me.
No, no, it's very interesting because you bring up a good point, especially with dubs. They have a hard line of like the culturally translating the words over to English. Sometimes they're just like very jarring. Like they're talking like this, and then they suddenly say, "Hey, Gagome," and I'm like, "What? When did that come
Yeah.
from?"
It just doesn't it doesn't suit English. I'm sorry, you guys. Just
Yeah.
stop dubbing.
It's unfortunate, but no, there's definitely like a sub versus dub sort of debate you have there, and a lot of people have their own a lot of their own
I mean,
preferences, but
if
of
the dub
course.
has a because it all comes down in personality, but the right amount of personality, not like super like super big personality, just
Hmm.
like the right amount that would fit the character. The one recent that I liked, I think, is My Hero Academia. They
Hmm.
don't sound like too much on I don't know, speed, because most of the time the English dub is just too much emphasis on the words, while this one sounds okay. Like fair enough, I can listen to it.
It doesn't feel overacted like some
Yeah,
dubs too.
that's the problem with English dubbing. It's like the trailers with the guy going in a world with everything is in darkness,
Yeah.
and it's like no, just
I,
calm down.
I think that comes down to like and this conversation is slowly gonna I'm gonna slowly transition out of this after this bit, because I really want to talk about you specifically, because
Oh
you're the
yeah.
whole reason why we're on the show, and your art is amazing, and I love to go ahead and showcase it. But before that, there was I think this is only coming because I'm really into the voice acting world, especially in animation. A lot of what they do in for English dubs is they do a thing called lip matching, where
Oh,
they have to take whatever they in anime, of course, they write the lips after the VO, the voice acting has been done in Japanese, and so they go ahead and trace the lips for that. In something that has been like a tradition since like the early '90s, when things have been made for the U.S. A lot of the dubbing was basically like make it look like they're actually saying the thing for how long they can,
but
and
that's so hard. It's like
yes.
it doesn't work like that.
Oh yeah, it's incredibly difficult and tedious, and it was just probably made by some executive who was like, "Yeah, that makes sense. You know, we want to make it look like they're saying the words, because they want to westernize it as much as possible, like 4Kids did to like
Oh,
some different
oh my god,
animes and Yu-Gi-Oh.
I saw
Um,
the memes.
but okay, that was a really
Yes.
good talk about Italian dubbing and English dubbing, because it's a very important part of like who you are and your different type of art style, and I'm glad that like that that stuff like that translated so well to you, and translates well into American and more Canadian audiences as well. Shout out to my Canadian listeners. But um, I want to talk specifically about you. I want to go ahead and hear what you are an animator and a wonderful artist who focuses a lot on, I would say, how would you best describe your art style? How would you best describe it?
I say cartoonist, but it's kind of like cheating because cartoonists do like comic strips and make like some sort of gags and humor. My type of cartoonist is just like I draw cartoony things. So I guess I'm a toonist because I make toons, and it's kind of a hybrid. But I'm more inclined to do cartoony things like more round shapes and like strabic eyes and like funny faces. Or more like it's more happy faces than weird faces.
Yeah, yeah. What are some of your biggest inspirations? Because I've seen some of the like I said before I started recording, there was a lot of like I see some like direct influences, and I've seen some of your fan art. But what do you think is some of your biggest influences in inside of your art?
It's so hard to tell. Every time I want to do those kind of artists like main inspiration kind of charts, but every time I'm like, okay, I gotta sit down and think about it, because when I draw, I don't think about my inspiration. I guess my first inspiration of drawing was VG Cats. I can't even remember the oops, no F.
No, you're fine. You're
fine. I don't remember the author name right now, but VG Cats was this web comic that I used to follow on my earliest days of I think it was like 2007 when I started using the computer online, and I used to like learn English, and I didn't understand any video game like references and stuff, but I really liked the drawings. And I think pretty much that's where it comes my side cheek kind of when I draw a face, sometimes there's like this side cheek that is very pronounced, and that's where it comes from. While in VG Cats it was more pointy, I guess. Mine is more round.
I've never heard
what's another inspiration?
I've never heard of VG Cats. I'm looking at it now, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is like peak like art comics,
like
and
in the time of Penny Arcades and the other lame one, Alt something, or like what's another webcomic I used to watch? Oh my god, Awkward Zombie, I think it was called.
Oh yeah, I see that right here.
And it was all made with the binary tool, and it was about this. I guess it's a girl character, but it looked like non-specific gender. So it's like, oh, it could be you, it could be me. It's the only point is that it's nerdy. And I remember, a big thing I remember, a big inspiration was the videos, memes around Super Smash Brothers Brawl, like a lot of early Newgrounds stuff. And like a lot of internet garbage was my main inspiration, because growing up I always thought like, oh, everything needs to be pretty and inked and clean, and I was like, I don't want to do any of that. I just want to like rough something cool and dynamic. So I looked more into the people that were posting online instead of like classic Disney, which I love classic Disney. Like a lot of my friends would be looking at maybe Beauty and the Beast. I would look like I don't know, Pico shoot up his school. Oh no, he defends the school. He doesn't shoot up his school.
Oh no.
I mean, he shoots people.
Yeah. No, I definitely see like you have a big love for Newgrounds, especially in the especially like nowadays. A lot of people have like moved away from
since
Newgrounds.
The big Tumblr migration. Because when I was little, I always was afraid to do things, because I've been a huge fan of Newgrounds since 2007, but I never wanted an account, because I was like, no, what if I'm awkward online? I don't want to do it. So it's so stupid if I think about it, because I could have been maybe, I don't know, in the cool kids, but I guess I'm kind of a little cool kid right now.
Yeah, you're a cool kid.
I joined at the moment that I'm an actual like semi-adult, so I can actually produce something cool and not like lame furry art that I used to do when I was little.
Oh, that's for that. That all I know plenty of artists who did that. That's all deviant art. That's where all that. That's where all of that just goes. It's locked away.
It was
there.
all the weird Sonic OCs, but at the time it was even funnier because I never played Sonic when I was little. My first
wow.
Sonic was the Dark Chronicles one on the DS with the mid-eye music.
Oh wow. I mean, of course I didn't have my classic Sonic experience. I had the PS2 games. But I never.
Man.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's so weird growing up with like different. We could like determine different Sonics as like, oh, this is the Sonic game I played as a kid, and it's like a whole generation difference.
I grew up all up because I played that one Sonic.
Oh, no. Yeah, I would say that your love of Newgrounds is one that is very refreshing, because I've seen a lot of people either like at least from like bigger names have pretty much just left it to go ahead and work on their own things. The bigger names like back in the day where you specifically know about. Even though they still like they came from Newgrounds, and they're like they may say like, oh yeah, I loved it, or I still do love it, but they don't like show as much love. Whereas you have your profile banner to like represent it. You just drew Tom Fulp, like.
Tom is such a sweet guy.
Yes.
But I mean, if you Newgrounds has like two faces. You could be Oni NG, or a Harry Partridge sort of guy, or you can be Egoraptor. Egoraptor doesn't. I don't know. It kind of doesn't like the past of Newgrounds because it's kind of. I don't know, because I wasn't there back in the days, but I remember that back in the days the humor was very edgy and like very offensive. Like you wouldn't do those kind of jokes nowadays, but like yeah, and he's like, oh, I don't like that sort of past. While Oni and G was like, oh, I love Newgrounds. Yeah, we were kind of back in the days that we would say anything that was offensive and trendy at the time, but who cares? The past is the past, and the present is the present.
There's I'd say that comes down to like, and those two creators are big in their own rights. But that's more about them than it is about you. I want to get more back to you, because Newgrounds is something that you've been around for a little bit, but you've also done some work involved with you're on Instagram, you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook. In fact, I found you on Facebook initially. I'm one of the few boomers that are still on it.
Every American tell me that, oh, I don't use Facebook. I'm like, why? Why doesn't Americans use Facebook?
Yeah,
it's fun.
It's fine. But I think the reason why is because a lot of them, especially in Americans, it's where their grandparents are like now. They're on Facebook, and they don't want them to see anything that they don't want to see anything that they've posted.
Man, you guys are just. Who even does an alternate account? Just use your same account. Who cares?
That's me. That's it. I am one of the few like Facebook users that still use it and scrolls through every day, and everybody's just like, "Oh, you still use that? Why is that?" And I'm just like, they've got cool artists, and like if you follow people who also don't care, then they have good memes too. So everything's fine. Like just use it. It's okay. But okay, so I'd love to go ahead and talk about some of your different fan art that you've done.
Sure.
What is some of your like favorite like anime, like you've done like video games, you've done animations, you've done other like YouTubers, drawn for all of them, some of your favorite games, and you also have your own original creations. Like what are some of the big things you just like, oh, if I could draw this for the rest of my life, I'd be happy?
I don't know why I really like Shantae, the character from the game. It's such a really nice character. How it's done, it's like the perfect color combination. I just really like her. It's not that even. It's like a very interesting character. I just like how it's done, and it's like, oh, it's a positive character, and I just really like how she looks. But I didn't even play like all of the games. I just really like that one character.
Character
And,
design's a big thing like that. Yeah.
I don't know. I just draw whatever I feel like. Sometimes I just draw myself, like I call it my math sona. It's just myself cartoonized. But I don't know. I don't even have plans for like. I kind of wanted to do cartoons about my stuff, but I don't. I just have characters, but no story, like no backbone. I would like to draw them like forever, but at the same time, I'm like, what am I drawing them for? There's no story, no anything. They're just little dolls that I place there and nothing else.
Well, a lot of the character can be seen from just like the animation style, especially. And sometimes there needs to be like some sort of direction that like a lot of different writers will use, and you're just really good at expressing like various different emotions through your like each of your animations and each of your character designs that you create. So there's definitely a place for it. Maybe it might take a little bit to like have I don't know. It might take a little bit for you to go ahead and figure out like what you want these characters to do, but clearly you can very well express each and every emotion that you want to go through for each of those characters.
I mean, the artist is the main stop most of the time of the artistic creativity and flow, because it's like to a lot of persons, to a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, what are you making is great," but if you're not convinced, it's not great, and it's like you're saying like, "Oh, Maff, what you do is cool, just do it." I'm like, "No, I don't know, I'm not sure." So I gotta be convinced at the 100%. And I don't know, just figure out something that has a little structure, I guess.
Now, I've definitely seen from your animation specifically, like you've done, for instance, in your demo reel. Let me go ahead and scroll through it for a little bit.
Oh boy.
No, it's really good. Like you've had for instance, you've done like Ding Dong from like
I love his design.
His design's
but it's so embarrassing because it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I just want to do fan art of a specific thing, but sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to look too obsessed, so I just stop.
No. I definitely think that there's a time and a place for that. I've known some artists who are literally just fan artists of one specific thing, but you have a lot of different variants, and you show a lot of your expression for like tons of different characters like Spinel, and you've got looking through, you've got like some like Soul Eater their characters, different like characters. You got your OCs all across. Like you have a lot that you can go through and that you like pick out. I don't know. I'm literally just gushing. I don't know what else to say. How about this? How was it that you first got into character creation, animation, your artistic like nature? How'd you get all into it?
I don't know. From what I recall, I always loved to draw, and I guess one of the first physical inspiration was this comic book that we have in Italy. It's called Topolino. Topolino is just a little magazine that it's like a weekly, every Wednesday back in the day. Now I'm not updated anymore. And it would tell the stories of Topolino, Paperino, Pippo, Minnie, Pluto, like Goofy, Mickey, Donald Duck, and what they're called? Huey, Dewey, and Louie, I think they're called. Like all sorts of stories.
The three little ducks, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I was thinking like, okay, yeah.
And I used to, like, I have so many, and the collection started because I have a brother. He's 7 years older than me, so I had like much to read of his comics. So it kind of started from there. I was like, yeah, I think a lot of artists start from, I want to make comics, because that's the first tangible thing. And then I used to just sit, I just wake up in the morning and watch cartoons. I used to watch a program, cartoon from Xilam. It's the, what's it called? It's the one with, it's called Scarafaggi, but I don't know how it's called in English. It's the one with the blue cat and the 3 cockroaches. and it's kind of slap. It's like a Tom and Jerry kind of thing, and I was like, wow, I want to make that. And then I watched Ed, Ed and Eddie. I was like, oh, violence is so fun.
The slapstick humor is definitely a big thing.
It still makes me laugh so much. Or like Billy and Mandy. Oh my god, so much. Oh, it's so fun. Or like classic Willie and Coyote.
Yeah. It's Wiley.
And,
It's Wiley
it's
Coyote.
called Wiley. Okay.
Yeah.
And Beep Beep. What's it called? The Roadrunner.
Yeah.
we just call it Beep Beep.
No, that's cute. I love that.
Because that's the sound it does.
I mean, that's all you really need. And like, yeah. Okay, so you got into it from like comics, and you got into it from different animation styles and
a difference we have, because I think I don't know much about the U.S. school system, but it's not that good. That's what I can kind of sum it up.
Everyone complains about it. Yeah.
But here we have like, okay, classic kindergarten, then elementary school, middle school, and then in middle school, like it's 3 years. At the end, you gotta think of what you want to do with your future. And here in high we have different high schools. I'm talking about the public ones. Of course, there's the private ones, but who cares? In the public ones, you have to choose like if you want to do classic. So it's like classic. At the end of it, you become a lawyer and you study Latin and Greek. So, and then there is the science one where you study more math. Artistic is the art one I chose. And there is also like if you want to become a chef. So you have to pick different flavors of high school. And at the end of it, you get the grade for that. And in my high school, there was, at the second year of art high school, there are other flavors you can choose from. And my flavor was, what's it called? Photography and multimedia. So no animation was involved, but my professor was teaching Flash, and I was like, oh, I know how to do it. I saw on the internet that you can make more than just shapes. You can just animate whatever you want. And I remember teaching my friends how to animate and stuff.
Oh wow, yeah. I didn't know specifically about like I knew a little bit about it, but mostly from my in my high school we talked a lot about like the German sort of like higher education system, especially like post middle school. But I didn't realize like how like in Europe it's a lot like that with like picking your specific
different
high
flavors
school.
Of high schools.
Yeah, that's really cool actually. We just have them by district. Like you're depending on the district that you are put in, that is the high school you go to, and that is the only real like difference between them is like it's just by location. So being able to choose it is really unique. Like it's almost like a miniature version of like what colleges are.
Yeah, kind of. Also depends where you live. I don't know, maybe in tinier towns, maybe you just have one high school and that's the one you get. But like, let's say in Florence or Rome or Turin or Milan, which are the bigger, I call them metropolis, but they're not. They're very small compared to anything in America. But they're like the more places that they got things. You have more to choose from. Like my specific high school, like some other art high school. Oops, no, my computer.
Oh, you're fine.
To screensaver. Oh, okay.
Oh, that's just because you haven't touched it a little bit. Yeah, just that.
And like other places that they got art high school is just like, oh, this and that's it. My specific art school before was an art institute, but then it changed the rules. But you kept choose what you want to get. You want to do painting, you want to do sculpting, you want to do photography, you want to do like classic, like how to, I think it's called bind, like how to construct a book, like with cutting the pages and sewing the thing, and that's how you make a book. I don't know how to call it, like a graphica, and I don't know how to say it in English, but yeah, different. You could choose different things.
So you chose your path, and that's more how you got into the you got into Flash from like finding out in high school when doing it through like photography. You said like.
Because I had my teacher was teaching like normal Flash, like how to do logos and like transition fonts and like normal shapes, like tweening, like just casual, normal things, and I was like, no, I want to use the brush tool. I want to draw, like with a tablet, and had this shitty Wacom tablet. It was the fun and touch.
Yeah,
I used to draw on that.
What do you have now? What is your setup like now?
I still have a Wacom, but it's an Intuos, and the medium size. It's like a classic A4 paper. Oh yeah, you guys don't use the ones. What's the how do you call it? The size of a normal printing paper?
Oh yeah, it's we call it 8x11. I think that's like the inches, the size in inches.
Yeah. For us, we call it A4.
Well, yeah, that's because you don't really have like the.
Inches sucks, man. Why you got inches?
Yeah.
Why you got feet?
We got feet. We got inches. Why do you have meter and smaller meters?
We got the metric system, dude.
Yeah, listen.
Or like you got yards and miles. Like, okay, sure.
Well, we had a lot of rural stuff. So when we had to go ahead and conquer the old West and everything we had over here, we had.
You guys suck. Just adopt the metric system. It's much more clean.
It is a lot cleaner, and it does sound cool.
How much is a foot in centimeters?
In centimeters, I couldn't tell you, but I know it's 12 inches. That's that's how ingrained it is into us. And being measuring your height in centimeters is a lot more detailed, yes, but it is less cooler than saying you are 6'3". That is like it's.
It sounds like you're 63 years old. It just sounds dumb.
Maybe. But I can't explain what the boomers over here have been doing. I can't justify it.
Why is boomer so trendy now?
Huh? Who
comes up with these words?
It's all the kids these days. I have no clue. You're speaking of you're a couple years you're almost you're a year and a little bit more older than me. You're 23, is that correct?
I'm so old. I'm 23. Oh my god.
I'm almost 22. My birthday's coming up, but I'm 21
baby
right now. Yeah, I'm just a baby. But no, we're going back to like your what was it, your life growing up. What are some big things living in Florence that you think is like relatively unique to you that you've experienced?
Well, I guess the landscape is pretty different. Like, I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of drawing buildings, because I don't know if do you know anything about Florence or Italy?
I know a little bit about Italy, but not a lot about Florence. Okay. Yeah.
About Florence, when I want to help my American friends, did you play the Assassin's Creed, the one in Italy, where it has Ezio Auditore?
Yeah.
Okay, that's Florence when you go on top of the Duomo on the dome, the cupola. That's Florence. I basically live in the center. That's where it is.
Okay. Of course, a little bit more updated, but yes, yeah.
I mean, buildings just stay there, man. The only
true.
difference is that less people live here and more tourists come in. So I guess the difference about living here and, let's say, America is that here I have a much more grasp of art and like how a building is done. Like, even if I don't draw a lot of buildings and like geometries and stuff, it's much more inspirational, because it's like, oh, I don't want to draw people. You can just go outside and draw a statue, or just go in the nearest square and just draw the stuff you find, or like textures, and like it's much more rich in terms of artistic stuff. Sounds so stupid.
No, that makes sense, because like Italian culture has a lot of like definitely influence on the rest of the Western world in terms of like.
I mean, we're old, man. Yeah. We're with the Roman Empire. We're so old. We're at the center of the world. Mm. Like Florence specifically, like it's like medieval. medieval, like Renaissance, like has layers of layers of layers of stuff underneath it. So every time there's like a more culture coming up, like we have the Uffizi, we have the Duomo, Ponte Vecchio, Ponte alla Carraia, like all sorts of things that could inspire an artist. But since I live here, I guess I take it for granted. While if you come here, you'll be like, oh my god, I feel so cool and inspired now.
It's all about the perspective in which like people come from. You've lived with this your whole your life, and I bet you've wanted to go to different places because you've seen all of this like that you have around. Like you've thought about like, oh, I've wanted to visit like X or Y or Z, but a lot of people like don't have the exact experience that you have. Of course, there are like some. I'm guessing there are some like cities that you've wanted to at least see in like America or like in other different parts of the
I
world.
mean, I think everyone kind of gets tired of their hometown after a little while. I think a person I really like on Twitter, it's called Corn, Magna Gallina. She's Italian. I think she's from Sicily or something. I hope she doesn't hear us and bash me. But she comes like from a little town, and every time I feel so refreshed because she's like, oh, she draws saints because in the south of Italy, saints are a big thing. Like yeah, like a patrono, like the saint that protects your town. And every time she's like, oh, I found this centuries old shell, or she draws like San Giorgio or like some other saints, and every time she's like, oh, my town is a blessing. And every time I'm like, oh, that's so cute, I wish I could celebrate my town a little bit more. But at the same time, Florence is already celebrated, so I'm like, okay, what the heck do I add for?
I definitely think that you have a unique perspective, especially coming up in this generation, and your specific like style that you could totally like represent Florence in a brand new light. And in some ways you're representing Florence in like the new digital age of like to a ton of different people, myself included. Like I've never thought about like going directly to Florence, and I've never like because I've just from how I've been, I've never thought to experience it. But like your unique perspective could always add something to it, and that's just the beauty of art just in general.
I think here was made specific syndrome. I think it's called Sindrome di Stendhal. I think it's called Stendhal syndrome. It's when someone from outside comes here and looks at because here in the center where the Duomo is, there's like a lot of different things. Like instead of being one here, one there, everything is concentrated. So they made up the syndrome where someone from outside would come here and get like so astonished, so amazed that would just like stop for a little second, like his life is like oh my god, like there's so much like overload of processing cool things because here everything is, well, it's not big like American big skyscraper, but like the thought of this the Duomo or like this big bridge was made by like people like us, maybe with more practicability. But it's cool, it's amazing, it's oh my god.
Yeah, I think that that comes down to mostly in a lot of things made in America were especially nowadays were made past the Industrial Revolution, and a lot of like big buildings and different sort of like architecture was made by various big machines where they do look amazingly tall, and like some of these things are like if you go out and you see these like tall buildings, you can get like awestruck for a little bit. But in terms of like your town specifically, and I'm guessing a lot of different European cities, the main idea is that there's so much that is there that was there that it's like all culminated into one feeling of like you feel connected to a place in not only modern day but in history as well. I don't know.
I mean the difference also because it sounds kind of silly, but you guys have no style, as in like in Florence the style is like a Roman, like a Renascimento, Renaissance,
Renaissance.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's like specifically for us, it's like Roman Renaissance. So everything is chunky, big, wide, like lots of marble. And like if you go to different towns in Tuscany, because okay, Italy is a state. When I go to America, I'll be so confused because you guys are many states.
Yes.
Here's is one state, and Florence is the town in Tuscany. And if you go to Siena, there's you go with the train, or if you go to Pisa, it's different types of marble. So like there is this kind of structure and style. If you go to, let's say, France, it's more Gothic.
Mm-hmm.
So everything has like, or if you go to Prague, it's more like Barocco, like Baroque. I think it's this translation. So like in Europe, you got like different but like solid styles. While in America, maybe it's more like a colonialism, or maybe something made in the 60s. It's just like more recent, I guess. It's still good because I like buildings made in the 50s and 60s because they have very tame palette. Like I really like the muted mint green that you see like in diners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's still something I like, but it's less majestic. Like it's less also the how do you say the choice of materials. Like you got marble, and then you got like asbesto or something. Like it's total different, like nobility of the stuff you use to build things.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a lot more. It's a lot more practical here. Like a lot more of just like get it done as cheap as possible for the right price, and the aesthetic will come later.
It is here too, because we're talking about the past. Now we just do like normal buildings, like buildings that any earthquake could like make it crumble. I'm talking about the past. So you guys don't worry, it's fine. Because a lot of I don't know, this we're so sidetracking again.
You're fine. You're fine. I love this.
A problem with America. Where are you from?
I'm from North Carolina, which is more into the south.
More like compared to Texas, where it is.
East Coast. I'm at the. God, what? I'm so distracted. I can't even remember the ocean I'm next to. It's the Pacific Ocean. I'm on the edge of I'm more towards the edge of the ocean. I'm in the middle of the state, but on the edge of the ocean. Like that's where I am on the East Coast.
Because you guys are pretty young, so it's fine if you have. It kind of sounds too. I don't know, snobbish of me, but America is pretty young, so it's fine if it has less culture or like less cool buildings or cool art, because you guys are teens. You guys are so young. While Europe is old and Italy is even older.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, maybe some places are, but we are pretty old.
You were like in the. Especially with like your with Italy as a location, it's all located in like it was the center of like all sorts of culture in the growing Renaissance, and all these different places like coming to it. Whereas America is just that, I'd say now. Whereas Italy has been that for quite a while for a lot of different like major civilizations, but. Italy aside, because like you say, we're getting a little sidetracked, and although I do absolutely adore and love this conversation because I love the perspective of hearing
we gotta follow a script. We gotta be clean and efficient.
Oh, no need. I don't need to worry about that. This is some good moments talking about like the Italian like the history of it, from somebody who's like lived there is a great take. But I've always like this is all about this episode is specifically all about like you, because you're I've said I've been a fan for quite a while of your animations and your different your artistic style and your drawings and how your characters present themselves and all that sort of thing. I've already asked about your inspirations. How much of this specific work of you being like a commission-based artist, how much of that is a part of what you do in like your day to day? Like how much do you focus on it?
It's pretty big because my real life job is working at the like a friend's cafe shop at in the evening, so it's basically like a something like monthly earning, but it's not my preferred job. So what I do in the morning or like the rest of the day is just work on commissions. I've been on commissions since 5 or 4 years, I think 5 years or something. And I don't know, because again, I was so afraid when I was young to do anything. I was like, oh, maybe I could open, because on the DeviantArt, I was on DeviantArt back in the days, and everyone was selling out for anything, and I was like, oh, maybe I could do it too, but I never had the courage. So I started 5 years ago, and under this guy called Joriel, and he's I don't even know where I met him, and he was like, oh, can you draw this for me? I'm like, okay, I'll do some prices. And from there, people kind of, well, it's not that I got noticed. I kind of worked myself bit by bit, some on Tumblr, and then I moved to Twitter. I never liked Twitter. I kind of like it now because I get it, but it's a weird place, man.
Twitter is a weird place.
I mean, it's a big part of me, commissions, because looking back on like even my last year commission or like some months ago commissions, you can tell I really improved, because when you're an artist, sometimes you just draw whatever you like. When you take commissions, you take like a different kinds of things, different, could be commission, could be normal commission, could be like, a group shot of my friends, and you draw different things, and you start to get interested in other parts of the of the body, or maybe like, oh, I want to express this sort of feeling, or oh, maybe this texture of this one shirt, I don't like it, maybe I can make it better. Like with commission, I grew more like a 360 artist, because before I couldn't draw. Like I never imposed myself with like some commissioners, people that commission do like a list of what I do and what I don't. To me, I always like cross fingers on never getting like weird commissions. But I was lucky because I never had like weird requests. And with this, I drew like different things, and I think now I can draw a little bit of everything. Maybe not like specific, I guess, mechanical part. But if you ask me, I'll do it. And that's how like commissioning is a big part of my life.
You said you basically become like more of a well-rounded artist because you haven't limited yourself to these specific like commissions. But has there ever been people you've just like, whether it be like client side or something that you've like had something that you've like not wanted to commission? Like tell me some stories about that, because there's always an interesting perspective of like what you ideal as like, this is the perfect client for me, like the perfect commissioner, and this is somebody who is like, if you do this, I do not want to like accept a commission from you. Like I'd love to hear your perspective about that.
I'm pretty loose in the set of do's and don'ts. Okay, something that really helps if someone that comes to, because I have like any commissioner, you have like a menu, like, okay, what do you want, this or this, and it's great if everything is done, like the planning is done quick and the person responds. So I'm like, okay, you want to do this? Okay, fine. What are the characters? What, like, before getting, because I get paid up front, because I don't want to get, like, I lose a lot in taxes. So I'm like, okay, you pay me up front, but you can trust me. Like, I'll be spamming you with, like, questions, how is this character? Like, I'll be full into this. And, but you gotta collaborate. So it's like, okay, before getting paid, okay, what do you want to get commissioned? Is it suitable for I don't remember how you say it, CV or NSV, like or not.
Yeah, NSFW, not safe for work or safe for work. That's what they stand for. Yeah.
I just say
NSF or SFW. I love that. That's the.
And it's like, okay, just a brief description of what I'm gonna do, because if it's something like up or like, I don't know, some gore or I don't want to do it. But if you pay me and then tell me, I'm like, I like it feels wrong to go back on it. So I just, okay, you ask, what do you want? And it's like, oh, I want this. okay, then I get paid, and then you can send before or after references, because I want to know what I'm drawing. And then maybe like if the references are kind of bland, or like it's just a character, or like one of those like pre-structured what's it called, assets, like something like oh, choose this hair and choose this palette, and it's like what's it called, you know those games where it's like a character generator, I think it's called. Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes they send me this kind of references, and I'm like, okay, but what does this character do? And then it's like completely different. Like in the picture they look happy, but then they're like super aggressive and naughty and bastards. I'm like, okay, tell me please.
Yeah.
Because then it's like it goes to a total different drawing. And I mean, yeah, like a good person to collaborate is someone that talk to you. And like, you want to know like my process, or like a nightmare client sort of thing?
Yeah, like so I'm gonna go ahead and reiterate a little bit. So you're basically your ideal client is someone who like
Someone
gives
that
you
talks to me.
someone who's well communicating and gives you the references you need that for you to go ahead and do your work, and gives you some sort of direction. Is there anything so talking about like some client that you wouldn't enjoy, other than just like, oh, the opposite of that, like, is there any specific thing that you have in terms of that?
Specific, I don't like when people this sounds all generic, because it's like, you don't like rude people. I don't like when someone like expects me to change, because what I usually do is from depending on what you like, if you choose a full illustration, I can go out to do a lot of thumbnails and maybe like 3 or 4 drafts of the thing, depending if I like the subject. Because if the subject I don't like it, it's maybe like 1 or 2 or 2 or 3, because it's like, okay, I want to get it done quick. But if it's something I like, I can even do more. And if you're a cool person that kind of plays with my personality, I can even add more. So it's like a win-win situation. If you're I'm gonna act like I'm gonna do the service you paid for, because of course I respect the client. But if you're gonna be I'm gonna do it ish like you pretend to. Like I never had bad clients. My only, I guess, more negative experience was this guy. I was more unexperienced at the time. He was like, do this character like encased in ice. And I was like, okay, sure. But it's like, okay, how do you want it? You want classic ice cube encased in ice, or you want like icicles from upward, from downward? So I was just asking all these things, and he chose one, and I say, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then he's like, oh, no, I thought you meant this. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it again. And then he said it again, like, oh no, I changed my mind, can you do it again? And it's kind of my fault, because I should have stopped him and say, okay, you got all the variants of this thing, so keep them. But at the same time, like, it's like common sense. Like, okay, 1 slip up, it's fine, like, don't worry about it. But 2, 3, God, like, you're just asking. Or like, I don't like people that demands free art.
Oh yeah.
And I understand, like, you can be like, oh, can you draw this? And you would be like, no, I'm sorry. And they'll be like, oh, okay, fine. Like, that's perfectly fine. But if you every day spam me, like this happened on Instagram specifically, I don't know, I hate Instagram. Let the world know. You people see me there, but I hate it. I sometimes like the people, but most of the people I don't like. And most of the time it's people messaging me, oh, draw, not even can you, it's just draw this. And I had one specific person that had like a character, and it would post in his account, I guess, his character drawn by other people. I guess he harassed or something. And for a month, no, not a month, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, every day he would just draw this. Please, draw it. Please just draw it. I'm like, no, dude, please leave me alone.
I've never heard of anybody like experiencing that specific sort of thing, but I guess that happens when you get like with quite a few followers.
It's not even the act of spamming is rude. It wasn't even being like, oh, you. It was just like, please draw this, please, come on, do it. Every day he would just post me this character. I'm like, no, dude. Like at first I could say, at the moment I was at the moment really busy. I was like, no, I'm sorry. Maybe if like I don't take requests at the moment. Sorry. Like I was being like a, I guess, sort of professional. I was being, no, I'm sorry, because it wasn't really a hard character to draw, but I was like, no, because if I get too invested in this, he might take like how does the saying go? Like if you give one finger, they take an arm.
Oh yeah,
Is
yeah.
that...
It's you're worried that you're worried that you might devalue the work that you do, especially as like
But
without even them having to pay it.
no, it's not even like because sometimes I do free stuff because it's for fun. Like if I have time and it's something I like, I'll do it. But some people sometimes are like, oh great, this gives me motivation and the access and the permission to keep going.
Oh,
And sometimes people's gear don't like spin as the same speed as mine, so they're like, okay, please, like you drew this, so it means we're friends. I'm like, no, please. Don't act like this. Come on.
yeah. There is definitely an artist culture of like wanting to be somebody's friend after doing a commission, and I think it's something to do with like the mentality of like, oh, they drew something that I really cared about. That must mean they care about me like a lot. And
I mean, if
in a
you're
way.
someone that like, because friendship online it's different from IRL. So if we exchange a service, I guess we can still be in touch. But you gotta bring something to the table. You cannot just be, hi, good morning, how are you, like every day, and I answer and then it's repeat like the same thing. Like you gotta do something, man.
Yeah, like invite your one of your favorite artists onto a podcast. That's what you gotta do.
Hell
yeah. Yeah. No, I
like you gotta act normal. That's what I'm, like normal to a friend. Like what do you do when you want to befriend someone because you think they're cool? You like sporadically you say, hi, what's up? Do you want to do this? Like add like substance to the conversation, not just like, hello, how was your day? Blah blah blah. Like, come on, dude. Like, make my blood boil. Do something cool. I don't want to like, how was your day? Who cares?
I definitely could see that with somebody who has done like specific art, and you not only take requests, you do commissions, and you keep your DMs open for that reason. You get some people who can be like that. And luckily it turns out to opportunities a little bit like this, which is really cool. Like doing a little interview with you. But I definitely can see like if you were to keep that open to more people who follow you and you respond to messages, people will consider you to be like a friend, and they might even like do something that do things that like they don't even realize that like. Just because you are an artist doesn't mean that you have to be everyone's friend, and that's also a big thing I've realized from a lot of different people.
I mean, a problem I'd say with my fellow art colleagues is that, not all of them, of course, but sometimes they get too passive aggressive. Like instead of head on be to the guy, like, oh please stop talking. Like not even, because sometimes you don't want to be too blunt, because I always assume people have good intentions, so I'm like, okay, like, I kind of play along, but then if it's getting too spammy, I'm like, please, sorry, can we talk, like, can we advance the conversation? Can we do something else? While other artists would be like, do a post on Twitter, like, these people don't understand me, or like, it's so annoying, like, come on, dude. Like, just attack the problem head on. Just don't do a bigger thing than it is.
I think that comes from artists being introverts, and that not wanting to go ahead and deal with head-on confrontation is something that happens when you get a profession that's filled with people who are mostly introverted.
I mean, I guess it just depends from person. Not even like in the realm of artists, just like from person to person, because I'd say I'm more of an extrovert type, but at the same time I get over some small things, so it's fine. We all have problems of our own, and we rock on cool things of our own. So we just gotta balance and be cool, be non-aggressive, be aggressive when you really need to, which is like a small percentage of your life. Because there's no need to be too angry online, because it's online. You're just screaming at the mountains. Nothing is really happening.
Yeah. Okay. We've gone for almost around an hour. And I don't want to go ahead and keep you waiting for too long. But I do want to say that I have I've enjoyed a lot of your work, and I'm so thankful that I got a chance to go ahead and talk with you for this long. It really is like a somewhat surreal moment to be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and just like, hey, you wanna
It's normal, dude. It's normal epic.
It's normal epic. I appreciate that. I appreciate this whole thing so much, and I would love to go ahead and every single piece of social media I have for you is like going to be like listed in the description of specifically the videos and everything like that. So don't worry. And if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to go ahead and use some of your art and some of the videos to go ahead and like showcase some of your work that you've done.
What kind are you gonna use? I'm curious.
No. I'm pick. I mean, like, that's more for like me and the editing process of like just putting up different pieces of artwork here and there, and some animations. But I'll let you know beforehand. I'll let you go ahead and have a preview of it, so you could be like, I don't like that work, and I'd be like, okay, I'll get rid of it. But no, I like
everything I've done so far. I guess posting on because on Newgrounds it's good because I get to post like kind of full ready art instead of sketches. So you can go ahead and use anything you want.
Thank you.
And be tuned in, because I get myself into pixel art, and it's very fun.
I cannot wait to go ahead and I cannot wait to go ahead and see that from you. But Maffo, thank you so much for joining me on. You're gonna be the third guest on the third episode. This is the third episode of the show Commissions Open. I appreciate you for accepting my invite to this weird little idea that I have. And please follow MKMaffo on Twitter, on Instagram, which she hates, Newgrounds, everywhere.
Maffo's art. Quest, everyone.
Yeah, Maffo's art, the art of Maff on Facebook. There's a lot of places that you're at, but I'll be sure to go ahead and link you to everything that she has.
And every place has the little difference.
Yeah,
like they're not the same, like spamming post or like a bird post place. Every place has different flavors.
Yeah.
So be sure to just follow wherever you want.
Yes.
I don't care.
Follow wherever you want. Give her money on Patreon. Take her commissions.
Oh, I feel bad.
No, don't feel bad. This whole thing is literally this whole idea of this show is to take an artist or a voice actress or a voice actor or somebody in the commission field that I have enjoyed, and just like show them to everyone and talk about things that they have experienced.
It's a spotlight moment.
Yeah. So it's fine if you feel a little bit like don't worry about it. This is all it is. This is all it's supposed to be. But yeah.
Oh my god.
All right.
I feel like for respect, when it will come out, I will listen to it once, because I respect the work you done and I worked with, but then I won't listen to it again, because I'll probably sound very bad.
Oh, you won't. You don't sound bad at all. I think you've done great on this episode. Anyways, I'll go ahead and play the outro and just it'll be in post. Don't worry about it.
Okay,
Bye.
So is this where it ends?
This is where it ends.
Okay. Bye, Doc.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Commissions Open. If you would, please follow this podcast on whatever app you use. I would most definitely appreciate it. If you're just listening, that's perfectly fine. However, if you'd like, you can also watch this podcast on YouTube to see a custom commission every episode for each guest I have on, as well as to see the wonderful podcast set. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at ComsOpenPodcast. That's COMS Open Podcast on Twitter. Finally, you can follow today's guest Maffo on Twitter at MKMaffo. That's MKMaffo on Twitter. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.